Social media has revolutionized the way youth of the United States communicate with one another, though with such a great system also comes great risk. Good morning, my name is Pablo C. To what extent will the use of different platforms of social media affect the communication of the U.S. youth from ages 8 to 18 in the next 25 years? Social media will help the overall communication of the youth, though it may cause damage to mental health and physical human social interaction. According to an article titled Social Media and the Movement of Ideas, written by Edward Kessler, he states that the definition of social media refers to the use of web-based and mobile technologies to turn communication into an interactive dialogue. The article also states that the outcome of how social media impacts a person depends all on different variables, whether it meant time spent on the platform or what platform was used. The development of how social media and its communication is perceived has and will always depend on the person involved in the topic of conversation. 94% of teens use social media daily, and 71% of these teens use more than one social media platform, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. A quote from their article states that these platforms can help teens socialize and communicate with peers, find learning opportunities, and become engaged in causes important to them. Social media also provides a wealth of information and resources that teens can use to maintain their own health and relationships. More than 75% of these teens previously stated say that social media makes them feel better about themselves. Social media has developed to a level which is easily accessible to teens and can be used for a multitude of reasons. As dependent as teens are with social media platforms, there comes impacts to a more traditional social society. How using social media affects teenagers. An article published by the Child Mind Institute, they state that the youth all over the country miss out on very important social skills because of their heavy use of social media or means of communication. Traditionally, before social media was created, the norm was for people to interact face-to-face. This helped kids develop social cues. With social media, there's no face-to-face interaction, limiting the amount of social interaction and development younger kids should normally get. The Pew Research Center defends social media and is completely opposed to the previous article. This article focuses on teens who credit social media for helping them build stronger friendships and exposing them to a more diverse world. The article, Teens' Social Media Habits and Experiences, states a survey conducted asking teens on how they associate social media and whether or not it's positive or negative. The results shared stated that teens felt that social media was more positive than when it came to friendships and social interactions rather than negative, as you can see right here. Gaming may also be considered to be a social media platform, with different platforms such as Sony's PlayStation 4, Microsoft's Xbox, and computer platforms such as Steam. There are many opportunities to communicate through these platforms to solve problems and help one another. There was a TED Talk presented called Gaming Can Make a Better World, where the presenter was Jane McGonigal, a game developer. This TED Talk gives a description on how video games can help make a better world. The use of video games and simulation will lead to higher creativity and problem-solving skills to help out in real situations. There's also the possibility of building communication skills between people to solve problems. But is social media bad for teens' mental health? UNICEF, with the help of research done by sociologists and psychologists, concluded that children spend too much valuable time on social media platforms on their smartphones, causing them to miss out important social experiences. UNICEF expressed in their article that depression only rises more and more by the day, leading more people to flee from face-to-face conversation and replace it with social media communication and interactions. The feelings triggered by a like can temporarily relieve feelings of loneliness, but they cannot replace socializing altogether. When adolescents who feel lonely offline use social media to compensate for less developed social skills, they may end up feeling more lonely in the long run. The research has seen the youth feel more lonely and depressed because of social media, unlike the other previous articles. But what will the future hold? Another article published by UNICEF called Children in a Digital World examines the ways in which digital technology has already changed children's lives and life chances and explores what the future may hold. This report claims and argues for action, investment, and a greater cooperation to protect the youth from the risks of harms of the digital world, but also to embrace the new era and to utilize it like never before to further evolve and adapt for the better. In order to embrace these changes of a new digital era, there must be rules and regulations for an optimal outcome in which social media will benefit the means of communication and cooperation in the United States. The solution to a better future would be to have a balance between face-to-face social interactions and digital interactions. With the correct rules and regulations in order to communicate with one another on social media, overall it will benefit the United States youth and continue to advance and evolve technology and progress towards a better future. What questions do you have? Thank you.
All right, 2 questions for you. First up, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
Well, I needed to know how many teens and youth use social media in total. For example, what I found stated in the presentation, where it said that 94% of teens use social media. I needed to know that just to make sure we have more of a broad overlook of what I'm going to be looking at and how many teens I'm going to be researching.
Okay. And next question, if I was prepared. What additional questions emerged from your research, and why were these questions potentially important?
Additional questions that emerged from my research would include how social media will evolve in the future, because, for example, as I was stating that there must be a balance between social interaction, face-to-face conversation, and digital interactions. I had the question of whether or not the people would adapt to this kind of change and whether or not it would be safer to use social media in the future.
All right, you're done. Brief.